Here's what everybody gets wrong about manifesting. Everybody, at least kind of in the mass market, what you're trained to think about when you think about manifesting is vision boards. And when you hear the word vision boards, you think about the big stuff. Should you have big dreams? Of course you should. Should you dream of building a mansion on the ocean if that's your thing? Yes. Here's where everybody goes wrong. You dream about the end. You make this gorgeous collage of all this stuff that has nothing to do with your current life. Because the gap between where you are and where you want to go, it seems insurmountable. And so what happens based on the research is when you only visualize the end game, Lewis, it's demotivating.
Okay, I've been doing this for 2 days. I'm still in this apartment with the cat box that needs to be changed.
The way to visualize properly is to visualize the bridge between where you are and where you need to go. And particularly the horrible stuff.
Need motivation?
You better watch a Top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because I need them for me, because I want to wake up every day and watch a video that puts me in a mindset to believe in myself more and go off and accomplish amazing things and attack the day. And I hope that this video does that for you as well. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Mel Robbins, and my take on her top 10 rules of success. Enjoy. Rule number 2 is reinvent your life.
I like to think about life as one long road trip. Every year of your life is a mile marker on the road of life. And the thing about this road trip is it's a solo journey. You started at mile 0 and you were alone. That's how you came into this world. And wherever the road of your life leads you, when you leave this world, you're going to be alone when you leave. Yes, you'll be surrounded by family and friends, but when you actually pass over, you are on your own. And the truth is, it is a solo journey. Yes, you're going to drive parallel with some people. Yes, you're going to intersect with some people. Yep, you're going to travel in packs, but you are driving alone. And look, I'm not telling you this to make you feel isolated or unsupported. That's the last thing that I want you to feel. The reason why I'm telling you this is because I want you to understand the power that you have to make these dreams part of your day-to-day life as you pursue them. I mean, maybe you've been so worried about what everybody else is going to think, and that's what's kept you from starting your YouTube channel or writing that screenplay or making a career change. I'm here to tell you, no one gives a shit about what you do. You want to know why? Because everybody else is driving their own car on their own solo journey, and they're busy trying to figure out their own life. When you realize that the only person who is truly judging you right now is you. When you embrace that you're the one in your way, it can spark a fire in your gut. Yes, it sucks that my friend has been telling herself for 20 years that she's not a real writer, that she's not a respected writer, that it's not that interesting. Yeah, that sucks to wake up and realize that you're the one that's been dragging yourself down. But you want to know what sucks more? Spending another 20 years never writing it. So step 1, you have to acknowledge the thing that's on your list and that's in your heart. And then step 2 is take responsibility for doing whatever you can, however you're capable, in whatever big or small way to move toward it. Get serious about looking ahead instead of looking back. Looking out the window in front of you at the road ahead and where you want to go. You can inch your way day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year to creating a whole new life for yourself.
Rule number 3 is use the 5-second rule.
Everybody that struggles with addiction does this exact same thing. Tomorrow, I'm not drinking. That's it. I'm done with this. And then the next morning, it's the same pattern of negative crap that you're doing to yourself. And this is exactly what you talk about all the time. It's not the what you need to do, it's how. How do you make yourself do the things that feel hard or scary or don't seem like they're going to work because you're resigned and you're stuck in your patterns? That was me. I knew I needed to get out of bed. I knew I needed to stop drinking. I knew I needed to look for a job. I knew this wasn't Chris's fault and I needed to stop screaming at him all the time, but I wasn't doing any of those things. I didn't know how. And so this was the moment I created the 5-second rule. And again, this is another I-beam or T-beam or whatever the hell beam it's called. I'm sitting in front of the television and I am watching TV. The kids are in bed and I'm drinking bourbon and I'm probably on like my fourth Manhattan and I'm having my nightly pep talk and I'm going, that's it. Tomorrow morning, it's the new me. I got to wake up. I got to do this. I got to do the other thing. And all of a sudden, Rich, honest to goodness, I see a rocket ship launch at the end of a commercial. And I go, that's it. Tomorrow morning, I'm launching myself out of bed like a rocket. And that was the beginning of the 5-second rule.
Rule number 4 is connect with yourself.
If you have big goals, you better stand in front of that mirror and high five yourself every day. Every single step of the way. Stop looking around and waiting for everybody else to do it. Start giving it to yourself and you will be shocked at how much more quickly things start to happen, at how much more joy you experience along the way, at how much more present you are.
Yeah.
It's wild. And this isn't about like pumping yourself up to think you're like the best person on the planet. This is like the baseline. This is literally being like, you know what? You're going to have an okay day. Let's go do this. You know what? I see you. I know this is hard. Keep going. I know you're nervous to have this hard conversation with this person. I believe you can do it.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Like it's just one little boost along the way. You know, if you think about the things that go viral, it's little kids in front of a mirror with their parents getting them to talk affirmations.
Believing in themselves, yeah.
Correct. We all know that's how we're supposed to feel. But we feel weird and cheesy practicing it?
Right.
You kidding me?
Right.
The other thing that goes viral, all these teachers that are high-fiving and fist-bumping kids with these handshakes as they go in, and the mirror one with the I am that just kind of went viral. Why do we all love that? Because we know each one of those kids just felt seen and felt good and felt motivated walking into that classroom. Start your day that way.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 5 is focus on what matters.
Every single day when you wake up, you can find 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes to move from thinking about what you want to taking action on what you want. Picking up the pen, writing a sentence, sending an email, doing the research, taking a class. All of these actions are how you move towards what you want while you're still in the life that you have. That's how you do it. And the other thing that you're going to have to pay attention to is energy. Because just like you are wasting precious time on that doesn't really matter to you, you are also wasting your precious energy spending time with people who are draining it from you, who are not giving it back to you. And so every single day when you wake up, I want you to pay attention to where you're putting your time and where you're putting your energy. And I want you to find 5 measly minutes to start working on what you want in the physical world instead of keeping it a secret in your heart and in your mind.
Rule number 6 is give your heart a high 5.
One of the high 5 habits is what I call giving your heart a high 5. And this, in many ways, I think is just as profound as high-fiving your reflection and just the depth of research that goes into explaining why it has such a profound impact in terms of how you relate to yourself. But high-fiving your heart is putting your hands kind of right on your heart, one on top of the other, and saying, I'm okay, I'm safe, I'm loved. And I started doing this when the pandemic hit, and I started to wake up to a wave of anxiety. And one of the things that we learned in writing this book is that the first thing that you need to be able to do before your brain can even engage in new patterns of thinking is to settle your nervous system. So, we wrote a bunch about the vagus nerve, but when you put your hands over your heart first thing in the morning and give your heart a high 5 and say, I'm okay, I'm safe, I'm loved. First of all, it's true, because if you can say those words, you're okay, you're safe, you're loved. But secondly, it tones what's called the vagus nerve, which I know you talk about on this show, that is the secret to switching between your parasympathetic and your sympathetic nervous system. So if you're somebody like me who has lived your life on edge, if you grew up in a chaotic household, if you've experienced trauma, if you constantly feel like you're waiting for the other shoe to drop, if you wake up and the first thought is, I've done something wrong, someone's mad at me, I want you to try this other high five habit by high-fiving your heart. You can say it 15 times if you have to. I'm okay, I'm safe, I'm loved. It will soothe your nervous system and settle it, because you cannot have new thoughts or learn new behavior if your nervous system is on edge or on hyper alert.
Rule number 7 is improve your health.
Intermittent fasting is a health protocol whereby you focus on periods of time where you're eating and periods of time where you are not eating. The purpose of intermittent fasting is to use periods of time where you are not eating to help you switch between the two different energy sources in your body. We learned all about this in part 1 from Dr. Mindy. You have an energy source that is all about sugar and calories and energy that happens when you eat. And then you have a second energy source that only turns on after an 8-hour period of not eating anything. And Dr. Mindy calls that your fat burning energy source. And so what we learned is that you are designed to switch between these two cycles, kind of like how you have cycles of sleeping and cycles of being awake. You have a circadian rhythm cycle. If you're a woman, you have a menstrual cycle. The human body runs on cycles and rhythms, and your eating is no different. And fasting is a way for you to be very intentional, not about what you eat. And that's why this is not a diet. Diets focus on what you eat. Fasting is a protocol that focuses on when you're eating for maximum health benefit.
Rule number 8 is embrace failure.
I literally fail over and over and over again. I lose my way 1,000,000 times before I find myself. And even when I find myself, I eventually feel lost again and go looking for myself again, constantly seeking, constantly growing, constantly failing. And so I start this life coaching business. I love it. It goes incredibly, incredibly well. This would have been like 2002 to like 2000, I don't know, I'm guessing here, 6 maybe. Mm-hmm. And what ends up happening is a friend of mine emails me, forwards an email to me. And when you look at the chain of when you look at the chain of the forward, what you see at the bottom is there's somebody at Inc. magazine looking to write an article about life coaches. And I immediately scan the thing, and it's a month old. The deadline is passed. I have none of the credentials they're looking for. I have none of the types of clients they're looking for. And I start to go, like we always do, down the list of reasons why I should not respond. Like we're always arguing against ourselves, always holding ourselves back. And I immediately say, wait a minute. What would somebody who's more successful than me do? And I'm like, they'd apply.
Right.
So I take a sip of wine, I start typing like crazy, and I just freeform this hilarious response back a month late with none of the credentials, da-da-da-da-da-da. She writes back the next day and says, I was about to turn the article in. What if I come to Boston next week and trail you?
Wow.
So she comes, she follows me around for a day. She ends up publishing an article. And I'm like, oh, yes, that's right, because the article released in 2005. And I'm like, this is going to be amazing. The timing of this article is fabulous. This article is going to print rich, and I am going to have an avalanche of clients. It's going to be awesome. The article prints crickets. Not a single client, not a single inbound email, nada, nothing. So I forget about it. I'm out to dinner one night. My phone's ringing. It's a New York number. Like, who the heck is calling me from New York? I pick up the phone, and is this Mel Robbins? Yeah, this is Mel Robbins. Hey, this is Mary Duffy from CNBC. I'm like, oh, hi, Mary Duffy. How are you? having no idea who she is. She's like, well, I saw the article in Inc. magazine and we'd like to fly you down and talk to you. So literally a week later, I find myself on a plane down to New York, drive over to New Jersey, walk into the offices. I sit down and I'm in a meeting with the executives at CNBC, and they're in a development meeting. Oh my God, coaching is hot. We think you're amazing. We want to do a show. We want to stick it between Kramer and Donnie Deutsch was on at the time, The Big Idea. And we'd like you to do. I walk out of there with a freaking development deal.
Oh my God. Rule number 9 is stop self-sabotaging.
Let's detour into the lane of anxiety, of patterns and trauma, and talk about why people self-sabotage.
Yes.
People don't self-sabotage intentionally. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, today, I'm going to screw up my life.
Right.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to drink myself on the ground. I'm going to cheat on my wife. I'm going to embezzle for my company. I'm going to lie to everybody about how I'm actually feeling. I'm going to stop taking my meds. I'm going to kick the dog. Like, nobody does that. What happens is people get triggered.
And they react.
And then they fall into old patterns. And so what happens, I believe, in relationships in particular, or jobs, where you're like, this time it's going to be different, is it's different for the first 3 to 6 months when it's novel and when you're intentional and when everything counts.
But then when you got to face yourself.
Then when it becomes like part of your life, you get lazy and you slip into old patterns. Or when the stakes get really high. Let's say you're somebody who had a parent die early, or your dad abandoned the family and you're scared to love somebody. And so you fall deeply for somebody. And then what gets triggered is this tremendous fear that they're going to leave.
Yeah.
Because that's your lived experience. And if you go back to what you did as a child to cope with that fear that somebody's going to leave, that's the exact pattern that you will repeat as an adult. The only way to end this, or to try to get your arms around it, is to attack it holistically. Because so much of this happens at the subconscious level, and it gets triggered first by your nervous system, and you're not even aware of it.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is start now.
You're the kind of person, just like me, that every single year you write down the things that you want in your life. And I would imagine that as each year rolls on and the new list gets written, you move the thing that you didn't work on this year to the list that you do for the next year. And on and on and on. I mean, how many years have you been thinking about writing a book? Or changing your job? Or changing where you live? Or healing some aspect of your past? Or finding love? Or learning how to love yourself? Or starting that business? These things that you hold in your heart, they are meant to be out in the world. And today, I'm on a mission to get you to stop waiting. Stop waiting for the perfect time. Stop waiting to feel ready. Stop waiting for the money. Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting to feel like somebody's going to care about this. The only person that needs to care enough is you. Because today is the day that you're going to pick up the pen. You're going to start the research. You're going to commit to taking action. Why? Because that's what you're meant to do with your life. You're meant to create a bigger vision for yourself. Work on your own. Because the secret to a happy relationship is you being happy and the person that you're with being a happy person. That's like somebody once said to me, you want to know the secret to a happy marriage, Mel? I said, what is it? He said, marry somebody who's happy. Working on your own happiness. Because if you're not a happy person, the easiest person to attack is your intimate partner.
It's the person you love the most.
Correct. Yeah. Like, think about when you're a kid. You have to hold your together at school. You have to look good for your friends. You have to stick it out at that job that you had as a teenager that you couldn't stand. But when you come home, you snap at your mom. You might be rude to your dad. You ignore your brothers and sisters. You let it all hang out with them. And we do that with our intimate partners. And so if you're not taking care of your own happiness, you're going to vomit your baggage at the person who loves you most. So that's it. All anxiety comes from childhood, and it comes from the experience of being separate in childhood. And so every single one of us has an experience, and you may not remember it because 80% of your brain is formed by the time you're 5 years old. But you have an experience where you, as a kid, feel distinct and separate from your caregiver. And he talks a lot about this concept of a parental mismatch. So there are a lot of us that have parents who are wonderful people, or maybe they're not wonderful people, but you have parents who are wonderful people. But for you emotionally, just like the 5 love languages, there can be a mismatch in terms of the love language you speak and need and what your partner does, that your parent and the way that they provide emotional support is a mismatch. And so as a kid, when you don't get the reassurance you need, or when you don't feel loved or seen or heard or accepted, you feel separate from the parent that you're biologically hardwired and needing to bond with, which also means you feel unsafe. And so as a little kid, at some point, an alarm would go off in your body whenever you felt separate from your parents. And it could be as innocuous as go hug your uncle. And you're like this, I don't want to hug my uncle. And you're like, get in there. Or don't do that now. I'm busy, or the snapping at you. And you immediately feel that alarm because you feel separate. And so what happens is that this alarm that starts going off and going off and going off in moments where you feel separate, you're not feeling the love that you need, you're not feeling connected, you're not feeling reassured, it starts to go off all the time. Now, as you get older and older and older, I mean, we've all had the experience of walking in to see old friends at lunch. And for many of us, we feel that alarm go off. They've all arrived there. They're all talking. You feel that sense of separation. That's anxiety. That's what it is. It's in your body. And it is, according to Dr. Kennedy, it is the little you basically waving their hand saying, I need a little reassurance right now. That's all that it is. And for decades, I have approached what has been an experience of living with anxiety from the neck up. I mean, the 5-second rule is a neck up approach. And based on the last 2 years of intense therapy that I've been in, and a lot of stuff that I've recently learned from Dr. Kennedy, I realize it is fundamentally a neck down issue. That attacking anxiety and these moments where you feel separate or scared or you feel the alarm go off in your body, if you, instead of treating it like a signal that something's wrong, if you actually treat it as a signal that you just need a little bit of love from yourself right now, just put your hand on your heart. You can take a towel and kind of do this on your back, rub it back and forth, and you feel like you're hugging yourself. Take a deep breath. Tell yourself whatever you need to hear in that moment in order to reassure yourself that you're going to be okay, or that whatever, I get it. You feel a little nervous, but all those people at that table love you. It's freaking bonkers how powerful of an approach this is. And it's also made me realize that, wow, I am so not used to giving myself that kind of love and reassurance. No wonder I'm uncomfortable letting other people give it to me. When you place a bet on life and you place a bet on yourself to face something, to believe that it's all going to work out, that you're going to figure it out, magical things happen. Magical things. And I'm telling you, there is energy, there's an aliveness inside of you, a vibrancy that will come when you are willing to push through your fears. I know my son wants to go skydiving for his 18th birthday. I made him a promise I'd do it with him. It is my biggest fear, other than being buried alive. But I do not want to do it. I'm starting to feel a little bit of vomit in the back of my throat and a nervous stomach, just even thinking about it. But I'm going to do it because I also want to reach and experience the full potential of my life. And I know every time that fear holds me back from reaching out to somebody, from saying, "F it, I'm going to go try that thing," to raising my hand when I'm nervous about how people are going to respond, to jumping into something that I know nothing about, I'm limiting myself. And you're doing the same thing. We are in too much of a cancel culture. We ghost people, we label people and toss them to the side. And I believe that every human being is capable of changing. And I also believe that if you want people to become better, whether that's better in terms of their mental health or better in terms of their habits or addictions or beliefs or whatever it may be, you have to create room for people to change. And by labeling somebody as toxic and then just tossing them out the window, you are not identifying the behavior that doesn't work for you. And when you start to go, the behavior of you giving me the silent treatment is toxic behavior. And this is what my boundary is with it. My husband and I have just bought a house in Vermont. And I know you guys, are in your new home. It's an incredible thing to do. It is our dream house. It's the house that his parents built. It's the family house. We not only were able to purchase this thing, we've been able to completely renovate it, make it our own. This place is the closest place to God that I have ever been. We sit nestled between mountains with a 140-mile view straight down a valley with cascading. It is just spectacular. When I would sit in therapy sessions 8 years ago, and my therapist would ask me to come up with like a totem or a spiritual guide or a vision, whatever, for truth or God or whatever, it's always this view. And so lo and behold, 8 years later, we freaking live there. And I'm sitting on this covered deck looking down the valley. My daughter is sitting next to me, our other daughter who lives in Boston, who's 23, and it's Sunday. And normally on Sundays, I'm not even present on Sundays because I'm now got the Sunday scaries. I'm now thinking about the week ahead. She is starting to now do that. Okay, I got to get going. I got to pack the car. I got to get going. I got a big week of work this week. And it's 7:30 in the morning on a spectacular day. And the energy is starting. And I recognize the energy because that is the campaign of misery that I have lived with for 50 years. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, oh, this is interesting. That's me. And then I stopped in that moment, Jay, and I thought, I don't feel that right now. I just feel that exactly where I am, looking at this view, is exactly where I'm supposed to be. And it was so profound. It's almost like that moment where Eckhart Tolle has on the bench in the beginning of The Power of Now, where I have this profound experience where I think, wait a minute, is this what happiness is? That I'm not 15 steps ahead? I'm just able to be right here without the anxiety, without the stress. I mean, that is like a revolutionary experience for me. I don't think I had ever not felt the default of a revved up nervous system, an anxious mind, or a to-do list that was a mile long. And I don't want to go back to that sort of frenetic busyness that creates chronic stress. And, the challenge for me right now is how do I stay in a space that's happy? Because I love the game of building a business. I love pushing myself. I love and I realized, oh, wait, you actually need both. You need deep spiritual quiet time, and you need the busyness of Los Angeles or Boston or New York in small sprints. But that can't be your default anymore, woman. The belief becomes real when you start taking actions that are aligned with the new belief. The new belief becomes real. The new belief becomes encoded in your brain, in your nervous system, in your neural pathways, in your habits, in your systems, in the way you talk to yourself. Your new belief becomes real when you take actions that are aligned with the new belief. I did not make this up. This is an entire field of study called behavioral activation therapy. Absolutely everything that I teach you is grounded in behavioral activation therapy. I am trying to make you understand that before you feel like the person you want to become, you need to start acting like the person you want to become. Before you feel ready to go to the gym for the first time in a year, you need to push yourself. Use the 5-second rule. Take a 5-second moment of control. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You need to push yourself to act like a person now that has already got a habit of going to the gym. That's how your belief that I deserve to be healthy and I can figure out how to do it, that's how your belief goes from just a statement that you say to a 5-second moment of control. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take the action and act like that person. Go to the gym. For those of you that want to write, for those of you that want to grow your business, ask yourself, what does a person that is a successful writer do every single day? They write. Before you feel like a writer, you need to make yourself take actions that a writer takes. So that as you stand and you start to say, I can figure out how to write a book. Over time, I could write a book. But then if you leave the bathroom after saying that to yourself, you now need to push yourself to sit your ass in a chair and do what a writer does, which is write about 500 pages of horse before you have anything worthy of sharing with somebody else. If you struggle with growing your business, I guarantee you, you're not doing the work that would grow your business. You're thinking about all the reasons why you can't. We need to invert this, everybody. You need to start saying, I am capable of figuring out how to grow my business. I am capable of pushing through the fear and picking up the phone and selling. I am able to figure this out. And then you need to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, take the actions before you're motivated, before you're ready, before, like, when you're afraid, you can still take the action. When you're hesitating, you can still take action. When you don't feel ready, you can still take the action. Action is the only way you're going to change your life. And by the way, action is necessary. You have to decide what you want to believe, and then you got to do the really hard work to push yourself to take the action before you're ready. That's the only way that you will change how you think about yourself, how you think about your life, how you think about your future. By deciding what you want and pushing yourself to take action 5 seconds at a time when you're scared, when you're anxious, when you're not feeling ready. That's how you change anything. And that's how you put it all together. There's another exercise, another habit that I have, I call looking for hearts. This is going to sound so dumb, but please, this is so freaking cool. It's unbelievable. You won't try this stuff in terms of the big stuff. Like, it's hard to change what you think about yourself. Really hard. I mean, that stuff is wired into your nervous system. You look back, you see tons of evidence, but I am damaged. But I have done things that I regret. But I am a bad person. But I screwed up that relationship, and I did this thing, and I'm a up. And like all this garbage you say to yourself, it is like in your body. So you're gonna have to get intentional and be like, I'm done living with this crap. And the imagery that I have is like, imagine it snows. When you get intentional with the high 5 habits, you can literally plow a new path in snow. That's what a neural pathway is. And I can show you that it's true if you play the heart rock game with me. I want you to, after listening to this, spend the rest of the day and just tell your mind, I really want to see a heart. Whether it's just a naturally occurring shaped heart, whether it's a rock on a path or a symbol on the top of your coffee, or a stain on the floor of the garage, or a leaf on the ground. I want you to just be like, I got to find a heart today. And just be open to it. And all of a sudden you're going to find one. And then here's how you really like amp up your hairnet on your brain going, ooh, she really thinks this is important. Let's look for more hearts. I want you, when you see that heart, to go, oh, I found it. The universe, God, that was put there for me. That is cool. And when you kind of do that little like mood vibe through your nervous system, it is like the opposite of negative trauma. It's like a positive wave in your nervous system that makes your brain go, this shit's really important. And so now you'll start to see, once you play this game, you'll start to see it everywhere. And when you play this game with your RAS, look for hearts, and you start to see, whoa, wait a minute. My brain is showing me what I'm telling it I want to see. Oh, wait a minute, there's a Bronco. I don't even want one. And just because I heard Mel talking about it, now I'm seeing a Bronco. Whoa. Now you can get into the deeper thing of getting intentional about how you talk to yourself, intentional about not getting dragged down by guilt or insecurity or people pleasing or anxiety or fear or failure, all that crap that takes your attitude low. I want you to stay in a high five attitude. This was the insight that I've gained recently. So the 5-second rule, life-changing. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get out of bed. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, pick up the phone, make the call. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get to the gym. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, don't snap at the kids or your husband or your partner. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Like, you can push yourself through something or you can put yourself in pause. It is profoundly life-changing. But what I learned during the pandemic was this. There was nowhere to go. There was no plane to catch. There was no speech to give. There was nowhere to drive the kids to. There was no meeting to run to. There was nothing. And I had to be still. I had to be face to face with myself and my dysregulated nervous system and my anxiety, which I had been barreling through for years. And I started to realize that I have been coping with anxiety and worry and stress by running to Target and running to get a cup of coffee and running over here and running over there. And when I had to just sit and be with myself, there was a lot about that was really uncomfortable. I'm not used to being still. I'm not comfortable being in my own body. At least I wasn't. I was used to the external validation and the external energy and racing from one thing to the next. And I equated being busy with being successful and happy and okay. And when all of a sudden the world stopped and there was nowhere to go and everything was getting canceled and I'd been fired from my dream job as a talk show host and my book contract had been canceled and the speeches were canceling and the kids were now all home and they were in various straits of psychological breakdown and the world was upside down, I lost my coping mechanism, which was to distract myself by being busy. And that's when the anxiety became roaring back. And I learned the most powerful thing in the world, which is the ability to stand face to face with yourself in the mirror and know that no matter what, you are going to be okay because you have your own back. That no matter what, no matter how hard this is right now, it really is temporary. And if you look at your life like a giant school, and some years are a party, and some years suck. And those years that suck are the years that you learn the most. And that everything is teaching you something. And what this last year and a half of my life has taught me is that the strength that I've been looking for all over the place running around has actually been in here all along. And when you slow down and you start to stand with yourself face to face and you rely on yourself for the support and the pep talk and the empowerment and the celebration and the validation that you've been looking for in so many other places, you will unlock a level of confidence and a level of resilience and a level of just strength that's been in there all along. It's actually been building during the parts of your life. Motivation is garbage. Yup. Mel Robbins, one of the most successful motivational speakers in the world, just said, motivation is garbage. You see, you're making the same mistake we all make when we think about motivation. You're waiting to feel motivated first before you take action. And you've been told a lie about motivation. See, you've been made to believe that you got to feel motivated. That feeling, that emotion is going to come before the action. It's actually the opposite. You got to take action and the motivation comes. And that's why the first takeaway is motivation is garbage. Because my definition of motivation is that it's just a feeling and it comes and it goes. Okay? That's the way that you've been using it. And the irony is you need motivation. Motivation is fundamental. You need this desire to move in order to finish a project. You got to have motivation to get out of bed, to move off the couch, to head to that networking meeting. And I know that you felt motivated before. You felt motivated when you're on a team and lots of people are yelling at you. You felt motivated when you need to pay your bills. But the truth is, when you're alone and you got something that you need to do that's hard or that's, I don't know, going to require some effort or that scares you a little bit or it's going to put you out there, guess what's not going to be there? Motivation. You're going to come up with every excuse in the book why you shouldn't make your calls, why you shouldn't go to the gym, why you don't feel like going out of bed. And that's because if you rely on the feeling of motivation first, you're waiting for something that's never going to come. That's why you've spent years thinking about what you need to do instead of just doing what you need to do. Waiting for motivation is a trap because you're never going to feel like doing the things you need to do to create a better life, period. I think your purpose is to share your true self, to be fully seen. And for the Olympian, when you are training and you're in that arena, that is an experience of being seen. And for most people that are lacking purpose, they feel profoundly invisible. And being seen fundamentally comes back to whether or not you even see yourself. And when you start to feel empowered and you start to see yourself and meet you where you are, what happens is every day that you're able to stand with yourself, to accept where you are, to give yourself the compassion, to give yourself the support and the love and the respect and the worthiness that you deserve, you're going to go out into the world and share more of yourself. That Olympic athlete is sharing more of themselves. And so I think our purpose in life is to come back home to ourselves, to reconnect with ourselves, and to empower ourselves to go back out into the world and share our stories and share our experiences and share our full selves with the rest of the world.
Because you made it this far in a video, I want to celebrate you. Most people start and don't finish. Most people never actually follow through. Most people say they want something, but they don't ever do the work to actually get it. But you are different. You are special. Believe Nation, you made it here all the way to the end, and I love you. So as a special celebration, if you put a hashtag believe down in the comments below on this video, I will showcase you and celebrate you somewhere on the screen in a future video because you are awesome. For 10 more amazing rules from Layla Hormozi, check the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
Because if you are not, then you are probably not achieving what you could be. And I think a lot of the times people think that in order to achieve, I have to feel comfortable and confident in myself. I have never achieved anything worthwhile while feeling confident. Most of the time, I'm scared